Hey, welcome to Big Ben's Boxing. I'm Big Ben. Step into my office. So, man, let's talk about it. Saul Alvarez versus Jermell Iron Man Charlo. Man, should be a pretty interesting fight. Undisputed versus undisputed. But what does that mean? Undisputed versus undisputed. Undisputed versus undisputed is a marketing ploy. It's to get the fans to say, hey, this is a fight that's worth seeing. Actually, the truth is that you got two guys that's fighting and they're two weight divisions apart. Has that ever been done before successfully? Your first fight at the bigger weight, you fight that champ. I don't know. I remember a few years ago, Guillermo Rigondeaux tried it, and he lost to Vasily Lomachenko, and that's another case. Now, listen, Shane Mosley came up from 135 to 147, but I'm going to say this, because he skipped 140. He did have a couple fights at 147, and Roberto Duran did it. He came from 135 to 147, but he had a couple fights at 147 before he fought Ray Leonard, and so those are two that was successful. Oh, the other case was Kell Brook tried it. He went from 147 to 160, and he fought Gennady Golovkin, and so that's another one that turned out bad. So in the cases that I'm familiar with, whereas you come right up and fight the bigger guy that's two weight classes larger for the title, I don't know of any successful cases. They make weight divisions for a reason. And so for all the people who say the weight shouldn't be that big of a problem, you got to understand this. Badou Jack started at 168, but now Badou Jack is the cruiserweight champion. So by Badou Jack being a cruiserweight champion, what did he say? Him and Saul, they were negotiating the fight, and Saul wanted Badou Jack to come in at 180. And so Badou Jack said no. Listen, you got to understand this, is that if the weight didn't make a difference, if the weight won't make a difference, then Saul would have just fought Badou Jack. And here's the thing about the catch weights and the rehydration clauses. What they're saying is this, it's simple as this. Listen, I probably can't beat you at your best. When you're at your best, when you're comfortable, I probably cannot beat you. And so therefore, I don't want to fight you at your best. So what I'm going to do is make an agreement with you to come in at a weight that you wouldn't be your best. That's the purpose of the weight. So weight, listen, size matter, they make weight divisions for a reason. Now with that being said, Saul could have fought the Charlo brothers or Andrade when he was at 54. He could have fought Jermell Charlo and Andrade at 160. Listen, they didn't want to see that. He didn't want to see it. The promoters didn't want to see it. The network didn't want to see it. Andrade was the same weight and was fighting on the same platform as Saul Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. And when they would fight, the only thing that would be said by Chris Mannix is, hey, man, I want to see this third fight between Gennady Golovkin and Saul Alvarez. But when Andrade fight, he was like, man, I would love to see him fight Jermell Charlo. Well, Jermell Charlo don't fight on the zone. But you never mention Demetrius Andrade in the same breath as the zone fighters in his same weight class, right? So here's the thing is that Saul grew with the help of, in my opinion, with the help of PEDs. He has to be the only Mexican in Mexico who eat tacos, because no other Mexican in Mexico eat tacos off the street, at least, because guess what? They didn't get the beef that made them fail the drug test. So he has to be the only Mexican in Mexico that eat tacos off the street. The rest of them, they get their beef from somewhere else, right? Okay? With that being said, is that Saul is a great fighter. He's a great fighter, but he's a great businessman. And it's like, listen, why do I want to fight David Morrell or David Benavidez, and I'm not going to make much more than John Ryder? Why? Or I'm not going to make much more than Rocky Fielding. Hey, if these networks are willing to pay me, if the networks are willing to pay me, then I'm not willing to fight. And listen, again, it's just a business thing. I don't think he's afraid to lose. I don't think that he's afraid of the individuals. But I do think he's afraid of the ramifications, what it would do to him financially, to him market-wise, if he lost these fights. And so I think that, now with that being said, what do I think about the fight? I think it's going to be an interesting fight. I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. I think Jermell Charlo has enough to show us. He has enough to expose some things and make it an interesting fight. But in the end, I just think that Saul is a bigger, stronger guy right now. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference. I think that, it's possible. I'm not saying it's outside the realm of possibility that Jermell pull it off, because it's possible. And I think that Jermell is going to be better than some of the guys that Saul has fought. John Ryder, I think he's going to be better than some of those guys, But Jermell, well, let me say this about Jermell. Jermell used to box more. When he was with Ronnie Shields, and I can remember watching the Charlo brothers, and I say, hey, that older Charlo, he's stronger, he hits harder. But man, that younger Charlo boxes way better. Well, since he went to Derrick James, to me his focus has been more on being powerful and stopping guys. And so he's hurting guys now, but Saul is a bigger, stronger guy. And so now here's the thing is that, hey, when you get hurt or under pressure, what do? You revert back to what you're used to doing. And right now he's used to being an aggressive, powerful guy. I know he could box. I know I've seen him box before. I know I was impressed with his boxing, but is he going to box well enough for 12 rounds to offset Saul Alvarez? Hey man, we have to watch and see, So, man, it's a fight coming up. Man, we're looking forward to it. But that's my take on it. My take is that, hey, it's good for Jermell that he gets a chance to make this money. But in reality, man, we got, as fans, we have to be accountable. We have to hold them accountable. The sanctioning bodies are going to sanction this, and they're going to back this. Why? Because, hey, 3% of Saul Alvarez fight is more than 3% of a Jermell Charlo fight or a Demetrius Andrade fight. And so if Demetrius Andrade or Jermell Charlo or David Benavidez were to fight Saul and beat him, they wouldn't quite make bring in the same type of money that Saul. And so that's why this stuff gets sanctioned. It's not because these are the best fights. The best fights is at his division, But this is what we get. And so it's up to us as fans to be like, listen, man, I'm not going to support these fights. This man had to make better fights than this. That's my take on it. Man, thank you all for tuning in to Big Ben's Boxing.